All right, starting this video off with a cut. I got cut off last video. Remember, I only get 5 minutes to do these because I'm cheap and I won't pay for the extended version of the software. All right, so I'm going to make this cut, then we'll head over to the circular saw. We'll talk about the parts, take a look at it, and then we'll set up and make a cut over there with that tool. All right, both accomplish the same thing. They allow us to cut big panels without a table saw. So very, very useful on job site. All right, I'm going to make this cut real quick. Remember, I'm turning it on, bringing it down these rails. I get to the bottom, I'll turn it off, wait for the blade to stop, and then bring it down. All right, here we go. All right, there it is. Pretty good cut there. I'm actually going to use this piece over on the other tool as a fence. Yeah, I don't know if you guys could see that, but when I cut this board kind of twisted sideways in there. So if I wasn't being careful and I brought that saw blade up right away while it was still moving, it would have knocked into this board and given me a kickback. So that's a prime example of why you always wait for your blade to stop when you're working in the workshop. All right, we're going to head over to the other place, the other tool over here, and we'll walk through what's going on. Okay, so over here, I've got my circular saw. This is a pretty good one. This is a Craftsman. Craftsman are generally a little cheaper than like DeWalt or some of the other tools that we have in here, but they all work the same way. Okay, so some parts on this tool. Number one, we've got two handles. All right, one back here that has the trigger in it as well, and then one right here that allows us to get some stability when we're using this tool. While I'm holding it, it's almost like a chainsaw kind of, right? You have your right hand on the trigger, and then that second hand is on the second handle for some stability. We also have a pretty cool guard on this tool. So the guard goes across the top. It does not move at all. But then there's a guard along the bottom here that will move and adjust based on the depth that we're cutting. It's kind of similar to the miter saw, how when we move the miter saw up and down, the guard moves with us. So as long as we're careful, we shouldn't be able to cut ourselves using this tool. All right, the number one rule I always try to follow when I'm using this is that I have both of my hands on the handles at all time, so I don't accidentally put my hand underneath the workpiece and touch that blade. All right, so we've got a guard, two handles, a trigger, some other things. We've got a table on this tool. All right, so if you look closely on the bottom, there's this big flat piece. All right, that flat piece acts like a table. When we're pushing this blade through a board, imagine I was cutting the table, the actual wood table here. This table, this metal table on the saw helps us stay flat. All right, if we didn't have that, we'd have a really hard time getting that saw blade to go through perfectly straight. Right? Without this table, it might go in at an angle, or it might change as we're cutting. And if that saw blade is changing through the wood while we're cutting, we're likely to get a kickback. All right, so this table right here is really useful in keeping us flat and straight. All right, the other thing about this table that's kind of cool is it's got some adjustable like movement on it. If I unlock it, I can move this table to some different angles. All right, so now it's no longer flat. If I were to cut like this, I could guarantee myself a 45-degree angle cut through that board. And that might be useful for some different applications. If you're trying to do like a miter joint or something, you might have to move that table. All right, the other nice thing about this table is that on, I believe it's the back, this one's a little different. Yeah, so right back here, there's another lever that allows me to adjust the height of the table. All right, and that will allow me to cut something really shallow, like this. You can see barely any blade comes through, or something really deep that looks like 3 or 4 inches of depth there I can cut. All right, so that's another safety thing. We don't want our blade sticking out too far from the bottom of our workpiece. All right, so those are all the parts on the circular saw. All right, we got quite a few of them. I'm now, in the next video, I'm going to set up this board right here to get ripped safely so you guys can see what that looks like. All right, see you then.